He left his black wife in the rain for his mistress until she collapsed and he panicked. Before we start today's story, comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you haven't already. You won't want to miss what's next. The thunder roared loudly outside the big old house in Providence, Rhode Island. The windows shook as if they were afraid. Alara Vesper sat in the kitchen, holding a cup of tea that had already turned cold. She stared at the raindrops racing each other down the glass window. Her hands trembled because her heart was full of worry. It was 11:47 at night. Her husband, Preston, had not come home yet. He had said he had an important work meeting, but Alara's heart told her something was wrong. She had made his favorite dinner, grilled salmon with herbs. She had even lit pretty candles to make the house warm and welcoming, but now the food was cold and the candles burned low, and Alara sat alone. Suddenly, she heard the sound of Preston's car in the driveway. Her heart jumped. She stood quickly, fixing the curls in her hair nervously. Through the kitchen window, she saw him. He was holding his briefcase over his head to block the rain. His steps were slow, heavy, almost guilty. When he walked into the kitchen, his voice was colder than she had ever heard before. "Alara, we need to talk." Those words made Alara's stomach twist. She looked at him closely. His eyes avoided hers, staring at the wall instead. "You didn't touch dinner," she said softly, hoping to delay the storm she felt coming. "I can warm it up for you." "No," he said sharply. His voice made her step back. "Alara," Preston continued, "this isn't working anymore. We aren't working anymore." The world slowed down for Alara. Her legs shook. She gripped the counter to steady herself. "I met someone else," Preston said. "Her name is Blair. She works in the legal department. It's been a few months now." Alara gasped as if the air had been stolen from her. "A few months?" she whispered. Preston kept talking like he had practiced this speech before. "She understands me, in a different way, deeper." Alara let out a bitter laugh. "Deeper after 8 years together? After all I gave up for you, my dreams, my career, my happiness?" Preston rubbed his hair nervously. "Please don't make this harder." "Harder?" Alara cried, her voice shaking but strong. "You broke our vows, you broke us, and you want me to stay quiet?" The thunder outside boomed so loudly the lights flickered. Alara's hands began to shake. Her head spun. The room blurred around her. "Alara!" Preston's voice was suddenly full of fear. "Are you okay?" But she couldn't answer. Darkness swallowed her, and the last thing she heard was Preston shouting her name. When Alara woke up, she was on the sofa in the living room. Preston was kneeling beside her, his face pale with worry. For the first time that night, she saw regret in his eyes. "I'll call an ambulance," he said quickly. "No," Alara whispered, her voice firm. "I don't want help. I just want you to leave. Leave this house, today." "Alara, please, you need—" "What I need," she said more strongly, sitting up, "is for you to go." The storm outside grew louder, as if the skies agreed with her. Preston hesitated, but then he went upstairs. Minutes later, he came down with a suitcase. At the door, he stopped and whispered, "I'm sorry." Alara did not answer. She kept her eyes on the window, watching the rain fall. When the door closed behind him, the sound echoed through the empty house. Something inside Alara broke, but something else was set free. The next morning, the sun peeked shyly through the curtains. The storm had left broken branches and wet leaves scattered in the garden. Alara stood before the hallway mirror. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but behind them was a small spark she hadn't seen in years. The phone rang again and again. It was her sister, Serafina. Alara finally answered. "Mandy?" "Oh, thank God," Serafina cried. "I had the worst feeling. Tell me, what happened?" Alara's throat tightened. "Preston left me last night, Sarah." There was silence for a moment. Then Serafina's voice was fierce. "I'm coming right now. Don't move." 40 minutes later, Serafina's car pulled into the driveway. She was tall, strong, and full of protective energy. When she saw Alara standing weakly at the door, she hugged her tightly. "That man," Serafina growled. "How dare he?" But then she pulled back and said gently, "First, you need food. When did you last eat?" In the kitchen, Serafina made breakfast while Alara told her the whole story. Each word felt painful, but sharing it also made Alara feel lighter. Blair. Serafina spat the name like it was poison. Is that the same woman from the office? The one who started 6 months ago? Alara nodded, remembering how Preston and Blair used to share little glances at company dinners. How had she not seen it? "You know what hurts the most?" Alara whispered. "Not just the betrayal. It's realizing I've lost myself. I gave up my master's degree. I gave up everything I dreamed of, just to support him." Serafina's eyes softened but stayed firm. "Then it's time to take it all back. Remember Dr. Navarro, your advisor? She always said you had a gift for understanding people. She believed in you." The memory of Dr. Isadora Navarro warmed Alara's heart. The professor had promised her that her place at the university would always be there when she was ready. The doorbell rang. A delivery man stood with a giant bouquet of red roses. The card read, "Please forgive me. Can we talk? Preston." Alara's stomach turned, but before she could say a word, Serafina grabbed the flowers and dumped them into the garden trash. "Don't even think about it. Men like Preston only realize what they had when it's too late. And you, Alara, are worth so much more." Alara felt those words like a slap of truth. Preston had never valued her dreams. He had always said, "You don't need to study. Focus on our family. I'll take care of us." But those sweet words had been chains. "I need to make some calls," Alara said suddenly. Her voice was stronger now. "I need to see if Dr. Navarro is still teaching." Serafina smiled. "That's the sister I know." Hours later, Alara had good news. Dr. Navarro was still at the university and was excited to see her again. A meeting was set for the next week. "You know what's strange?" Alara said quietly as she sorted her papers. "Last night, before I fainted, I saw regret in Preston's eyes. But now, I just feel empty." "Empty?" Serafina asked gently. "Yes," Alara nodded, "but in a freeing way, like his grip on me is gone." Her phone buzzed again, another message from Preston. Alara stared at the screen, then with steady hands that blocked his number and deleted every unread message. "I think I need a haircut," she said suddenly, surprising even herself. Serafina laughed. "I know the perfect place. Felicity works magic with curls." At the salon, Alara met Felicity, a cheerful woman with a bright smile. As Felicity worked on Alara's curls, Alara told her about going back to school. "This deserves a makeover," Felicity grinned. "Let's try a new style that shows the strong woman you are becoming." 2 hours later, Alara looked in the mirror. Her curls were shiny, bouncy, and cut in a stylish shape that framed her face perfectly. She touched her hair in wonder. "Perfect," Alara whispered. "No, darling," Felicity said warmly. "You've always been perfect. Now the world can see it too." Alara left the salon feeling like the storm had finally passed. Alara liked walking in the old part of Providence. The stone streets and the tall old buildings always made her feel calm. One day, she stopped in front of a little cafe she had never seen before. The smell of fresh bread floated out, and she couldn't resist. Inside, the cafe was cozy. The walls were made of bricks, and green plants hung from the ceiling. Behind the counter stood a tall man with light brown skin. He was putting cups in order and talking happily with the customers. "First time here?" he asked Alara when she walked up to the counter. His smile was warm, and his brown eyes made her feel peaceful. "Yes," Alara said, a little surprised to hear her own voice shake. "The smell of bread pulled me in." "Then you must try our cinnamon bread," the man said. "It's my grandma's recipe. My name is Julian Rhodes." "I'm Alara Vesper," she replied, noticing how he really cared about her answer. As Julian prepared her order, he told her about his coffee shop. He had once worked in finance but left that busy life to follow his dream. "Sometimes," he said, looking as though he could see right into her heart, "you need courage to begin again." Just then, Alara's phone rang. It was her sister, Gabriel. "Alara, I need you now." Preston is here at the office, making a scene. Alara's heart jumped at first, but then she felt something new inside. Determination. I'm coming, she said firmly, putting her phone away. Is everything okay? Julian asked gently. It will be, Alara answered, surprised by the confidence in her voice. I have to go, but I'll come back for that cinnamon bun. I'll be here, Julian smiled, handing her a small bag. This one is on the house to sweeten your day. Alara got into a taxi and headed to the tall law office building where Gabriel worked. The smell of the cinnamon buns mixed with the perfume of her newly styled curls. Looking at her reflection in the taxi window, Alara saw a woman who looked stronger than she had 2 weeks ago. Her eyes shone and her back was straight. She was no longer the woman who used to shrink whenever Preston yelled. The taxi stopped. Alara touched her curls one last time. Now, fixing her hair wasn't about looking nice for others. It was about respecting herself. You can do this, she whispered, lifting her chin. She walked inside the building and took the elevator up to the 20th floor. The ride felt slower than usual, and she could already hear Preston's loud voice before the doors even opened. You can't stop me from talking to my own wife. Preston's booming tone echoed in the hall. Alara's stomach twisted, but not from fear. This time it was from anger. She turned the corner and saw Preston in his fancy blue suit, red-faced with rage. He was waving his arms around in front of Gabriel's desk. Gabriel stood calm and steady, arms crossed. Soon-to-be ex-wife, Gabriel corrected coolly, and as your lawyer, I suggest you leave before. Before what? Alara's voice cut through the room. Everyone turned. Even Alara was surprised by how firm and strong she sounded. Preston spun around. For a moment, his angry mask slipped. His eyes scanned Alara, her curls, her confident posture, her calmness. She looked like a different person. Alara, he said in a softer, fake sweet voice she knew too well. We need to talk. You're not answering my calls. You're ignoring my messages. That's not like you. No, Preston, Alara said as she walked up to Gabriel's desk. This is exactly who I am. You just never cared to know the real me. Silence filled the office. Lawyers and staff peeked through the glass walls, shocked at the scene. I made a mistake, Preston tried, stepping closer. It was just one moment of weakness. I'm done with Blair. Our history matters more than that. Alara let out a short laugh without joy. Our history? You mean the part where I gave up my dreams to be your trophy? The part where every decision I made had to be approved by you? Don't be dramatic, Preston snapped, his fake regret slipping away. I gave you everything. A house, trips, jewelry. You gave me things, Alara cut him off, her voice steady but full of fire. But you took something priceless from me, my identity. Gabriel's eyes gleamed with pride. She stayed silent, letting her sister shine. Do you know what I've learned in the last 2 weeks? Alara said, locking eyes with Preston. That I'm going back to my master's degree, that I have real friends who never left my side, even when you pushed them away, that I can make choices without you telling me what's right. You're confused, Preston muttered, his words weaker now. Let me help you. Help? Alara almost laughed. Was it help when you told me grad school was too stressful? When you said I should quit my job because we didn't need my money? Or when you betrayed me with your coworker? Preston's face turned pale. For the first time, he looked truly lost. The divorce papers will be ready this week, Gabriel said firmly. From now on, all communication goes through the lawyers. You can't be serious, Preston gasped, looking back at Alara. Think of what we built together. No, Preston, Alara said calmly but strongly. You built your career. I just sat in the audience watching. Now it's my turn to build something, my own life. With that, Alara turned and walked to the elevator. Her steps were firm. She still held Julian's cinnamon buns in her hand, their sweet smell reminding her of his gentle smile. Alara! Preston called one last time, but she didn't look back. Inside the elevator, her hands trembled a little, not with fear, but with excitement. She had finally spoken her truth. Gabriel squeezed her shoulder. How do you feel? Gabriel asked. Alara smiled. Honestly, I think I need a coffee. Gabriel chuckled. Do I know a place? Actually, Alara said softly, I think I just discovered one today. The owner makes the best cinnamon buns. The elevator opened, and Alara stepped out into the bright autumn afternoon. The crisp air touched her face. Every step she took away from that building felt like a step into her brand new life. A few weeks later, Alara's first day back at university arrived. The campus of Brown University sparkled with frost. Students rushed across the lawns holding hot coffee cups. Alara sat in the front row of the psychology classroom. At 35, she was older than most students, but she didn't mind. Her life experience gave her strength. Welcome to the Advanced Seminar in Trauma Psychology, said Dr. Navarro, the teacher. This semester, we'll also be helping real people at the university's support center. Alara's heart raced with excitement. This was exactly what she wanted, helping people find their strength after hard times. During the break, a smiling young student walked over. Hi, I'm Liana Chen. You're Alara Vesper, right? Dr. Navarro said you've done community work. They started talking right away, sharing their experiences. Liana was 28 and had worked with refugees before coming here. We should get coffee sometime, Liana said. Do you know Aroma and Memories? It's a new cafe downtown. Alara blushed. Actually, yes. The owner, Julian, makes wonderful cinnamon buns. Liana grinned. Julian? He's my cousin. Before Alara could answer, Dr. Navarro called everyone back. In the second half of class, Alara surprised herself by joining the discussions with confidence. When class ended, her phone buzzed. It was Gabriel, meeting with Preston's lawyer tomorrow at 10. Want me to come? Alara took a deep breath and replied, No need. I can handle it. As she left campus, her steps led her straight to Aroma and Memories. Julian was behind the counter, drawing a design in a coffee cup. When he saw her, his face lit up. Alara, I was beginning to think you didn't like the cinnamon bun. Actually, Alara smiled, I found out something funny today. Liana Chen is your cousin. Julian laughed, brushing a hand through his curls. Ah, so you met her. She told me there would be a new special student in her program, but I didn't know it was you. Something in the way he said special made Alara's heart flutter. First day back after 3 years, she said, trying to sound casual. I was nervous. And how was it? Julian asked as he prepared her favorite coffee without her even asking. Surprisingly freeing, Alara said, watching his careful movements. It felt like I was coming home. I know that feeling, Julian replied, drawing a leaf in the coffee foam. When I left finance to start this cafe, people said I was crazy. But sometimes you have to follow your heart. Their eyes met, and Alara felt warmth rising inside her. Danny? Liana's cheerful voice called from the door. I knew I'd find Alara here. The three of them talked easily about studies, community projects, and even family stories. Alara learned that Julian had gone to Harvard, but his real dream was this cafe, a place that brought people together. We do all sorts of things here, he said. Book clubs, music nights, even free counseling sessions with volunteers. Speaking of which, Liana added with a playful smile, we need more volunteers for the youth mentoring program. Someone with psychology skills would be perfect. Alara grinned. That does sound interesting. Time passed quickly, and soon Alara realized it was late. I have to go, she said, though she didn't really want to. I have an important meeting tomorrow. The divorce? Liana asked softly. Alara gave a small nod. Yes, but don't worry, I feel stronger every day. Alara walked out of the cafe and felt something strong inside her. She had told the truth, and she was no longer afraid. Tomorrow she would face Preston's lawyers, but her heart was steady. She had gone back to the university, made new friends, and found a warm place called Aroma and Memories Cafe. All these things felt like a new beginning for her life, a chapter she was writing by herself. The next day, Alara walked into Preston's lawyer's office. The place was very big and serious. Dark wooden walls surrounded the room, and tall windows showed a wide view of Providence from the 30th floor. Alara sat on a leather chair and tried to sit tall, though she felt everyone was watching her. Across the desk sat Vesper Alastair Wainwright, Preston's father. He was an old, serious man who had always treated Alara politely but coldly. Now he was busy moving papers on his big desk. "The terms are very generous," he said in a calm but unfriendly voice. "You will get the house in Providence and a big monthly pension." Alara looked at him carefully. He was a strong man, the head of the Vesper family, but now he looked tired. He was sad because his family's name was hurt by Preston's mistakes. "I don't want the pension," Alara said firmly. "And about the house, I will sell it. We can share the money." Vesper Wainwright took off his glasses and stared at her. "Preston told me you went back to university." "Yes," Alara answered. "I am studying again for my master's in psychology." He frowned a little. "I see." His voice showed that he did not really like or understand her choice. "What about the social events, the Vesper family parties, and the charitable foundation?" Alara smiled a little, remembering all the fancy parties where she was treated like decoration. "Blair can take those responsibilities now," she said. At the sound of Blair's name, Preston's mistress, the old lawyer's face twitched slightly. "Alara, be reasonable," he said. "The Vesper family always treated me like a trophy," Alara replied bravely. "A multicultural trophy to show how modern the family is." Silence filled the room. Outside, dark clouds rolled in, promising a storm. "You were always different from what we expected," Vesper Wainwright finally admitted. "Preston needed someone who would obey," Alara said softly. "Someone who would never question family traditions, someone who would let him control everything." A loud thunder outside made the old man shift uncomfortably. For the first time, he seemed to really see Alara, the daughter-in-law he had known for 8 years. "I got an interesting call yesterday," he said, changing the subject. "From Dr. Navarro. She said you made a very good impression on the graduate committee. She thinks your research about trauma and recovery could help the foundation." Alara's heart raced. Dr. Navarro had never told her about this. "I don't need the Vesper family's approval to do my work," Alara said calmly. "No, you don't," he agreed, surprising her. "But maybe the foundation needs you." At that moment, the office door opened. Preston walked in, looking tired and older. His eyes met Alara's quickly, then moved away. "Dad, we need to." He stopped when he saw Alara. "Alara, I didn't know you were here." "We are discussing the divorce terms," his father explained, "and also the future of the foundation." Preston frowned. "The foundation?" "Your ex-wife has some very good ideas," Vesper Wainwright said quickly. "Dr. Navarro thinks her research could help modernize our social programs." Alara noticed the jealousy in Preston's face. For years, he had been the perfect son. Now his father was more interested in Alara's ideas. "Excuse me," Alara said, standing up. "I have a class in an hour. We can talk later." "Yes," Vesper Wainwright said. "My secretary will call you to schedule another meeting." Alara left the office and stepped into the elevator. She thought it was strange. Only now, when she was leaving the Vesper family, she had earned their respect. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Julian. "Post-meeting coffee? The cinnamon buns are fresh out of the oven." If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and share your favorite part in the comments below. And don't forget to drop a heart to show your support. Alara smiled without meaning to. Those simple words filled her with light. When she walked through the lobby, the storm was coming. But she didn't feel afraid anymore. She had survived her own storms. Now rain felt like a promise, not a danger. At Aroma and Memories Cafe, Julian was waiting with a warm smile and coffee made just the way she liked. They sat together, and Alara told him about her morning. "Sometimes," Julian said, serving her a warm slice of cinnamon bread, "we need to lose something to find our true direction." Alara looked out the window at the rain. Sometimes what feels like a loss at half, she said, is really a fresh start. The big day at Brown University came. The auditorium was full of students and teachers. Alara stood at the microphone, nervous but strong. She saw Dr. Navarro smiling at her and her friend Liana waving. The trauma of abandonment, Alara began, doesn't just hurt at the moment it happens. It stays with us. It shapes our choices, our relationships, and even how we see ourselves. She showed slides and graphs. Recovery is not a straight path, she explained. Sometimes we move forward and sometimes we fall back, but every step counts. Her voice grew stronger. She realized her own pain had given her wisdom. When she finished, Dr. Navarro clapped first, then the whole audience followed. "You were extraordinary," Dr. Navarro told her afterward. "You turned personal pain into knowledge. That is rare." "Sometimes I feel too close to the subject," Alara admitted. "Being close doesn't disqualify you," her mentor said. "It makes your work richer." Later that day, Alara went back to Aroma and Memories Cafe. Julian was hanging photographs on the wall. "Are these yours?" she asked. "Yes," he said, looking a bit shy. "From my last fall in Boston, photography was my hobby. The photos were beautiful. Golden leaves, reflections in windows, people walking under colorful trees. One showed a butterfly coming out of its cocoon. Sometimes we are all like that butterfly," Julian said softly. "We need to pass through dark cocoons to discover our true selves." Their eyes met. Alara felt a spark between them. But just then, Liana burst through the door. "Alara, your presentation was amazing." The three of them spent the evening talking. Julian mentioned a charity event at the cafe, an evening of art and stories. "Maybe you could share some of your research." Alara hesitated. "I don't know if I'm ready to share my story publicly." "You don't have to," Julian said gently. "Sometimes just showing the way forward is enough." Alara looked at the butterfly photo. She thought about her own changes since leaving Preston. "All right," she said. "I'll join." Julian's smile warmed her heart. The night of the charity event came. Alara arrived early to help. The cafe looked magical. Photos on the walls, tiny lights shining, and a small stage in the corner. "Are you nervous?" Julian asked, handing her coffee. "A little," Alara admitted. "It's different from a university. This feels real." "You're ready," he said softly, his fingers brushing hers. Slowly, the cafe filled up. Liana arrived with students, Dr. Navarro came with colleagues, and neighbors joined too. Even Gabriel, Alara's sister, came to support her. Then the doorbell rang, and Preston walked in with Blair. Alara froze, but Gabriel stepped close to her protectively. "The Vesper Foundation is one of the sponsors," Julian whispered. "I should have told you." Alara took a deep breath. "It's okay. Tonight is not about him." Preston and Blair sat in the back, looking uncomfortable in the cozy cafe. When it was Alara's turn, she stood on the stage. She saw Julian smiling, Gabriel's proud eyes, and Dr. Navarro's support. At the back, Preston watched her with wide eyes. "Trauma is not just about loss," Alara said firmly. "It's about transformation. When something breaks inside us, we can stay broken, or we can build something new from the pieces." She spoke about women she had met at the community center, about how healing takes time, about the importance of support. She never told her own story, but everyone could feel it hidden inside her words. "Healing doesn't mean forgetting," she said at the end, looking straight at Preston. "It means growing stronger, kinder, and wiser." The applause filled the cafe. Alara stepped down, and Julian was waiting with a smile that made her heart beat faster. "That was incredible," he whispered. Before Alara could answer, Preston walked toward her. Blair stayed far away, looking uncomfortable. Preston spoke, his voice strangely shy. "I didn't know. I always knew you were smart, but that was—" "Thank you, Preston," Alara said gently, stopping him. "I hope the foundation liked the presentation." "Actually," Preston went on, "we want to make the psychological support program bigger. Maybe you could." "We can talk about that later," Alara said quickly, noticing Julian walking close, standing protectively by her side. Tonight is about celebrating transformations. Preston finally nodded. He seemed to understand and stepped back. Before leaving, he gave Julian a strange look, like he was remembering something or letting go of something. The rest of the evening felt like a dream. People shared stories of how they overcame hard times. Soft music played. The smell of coffee and cinnamon filled the air, making the cafe feel warm and safe. Near the end, Elara stood in front of the butterfly photograph again. "You know," Julian said, coming beside her, "when I took that picture, I was also changing. Leaving my big office job wasn't easy." "And was it worth it?" Elara asked, turning to him. "Every single moment," Julian said. His eyes locked with hers so deeply it felt like the whole world disappeared. In that moment, under the cafe's soft lights, surrounded by stories of healing, Elara felt something complete in her heart. She knew her own transformation wasn't finished. Maybe it never would be. But for the first time, she felt her wings were strong enough to fly. Their first kiss happened on a December evening. The first snowflakes had just started to fall in Providence. Aroma and memories was closing, but Elara stayed to help Julian organize some new boxes of coffee. "I can't believe you actually import coffee from Ethiopia," she said, smelling the beans. "It's where coffee was born," Julian explained, his eyes glowing. "Each region has its own story, its own taste, just like people." Elara smiled. "And which region would I be?" Julian paused, looking at her with so much focus that her heart beat faster. You'd be a unique blend. Strong like the beans of southern Ethiopia, complex like Colombian coffee, but soft like. He never finished. The space between them closed like two planets pulled by gravity. When their lips touched, the universe suddenly made sense. The kiss was soft at first, shy, filled with silent promises. When they pulled away, they both smiled, nervous but happy. "I've wanted to do this for a long time," Julian said, his hand gently brushing her cheek. "Me too," Elara admitted, surprised at her honesty. "But I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" he asked. "Of not being ready. Of carrying too much pain. Of—" Julian kissed her again before she could finish. This time the kiss was deeper, more sure. "We all carry baggage," he whispered against her lips. "The important thing is to find someone who will help us carry it." In the weeks after that, their relationship grew like a flower blooming in the cold of winter. They had long talks about photography and psychology. They walked in the snow on Brown's campus. Every moment filled a space in Elara's heart that she hadn't known was empty. One cold afternoon, they shared hot chocolate at her apartment. Julian suddenly brought up something delicate. "The Vesper Foundation called today," he said casually. "They want to grow the psychological support program into 3 more community centers." Elara put her cup down. "And what did you say?" "That it should be your choice if they want you to lead the program." Elara sat quietly, watching the snow outside her window. "Do you think I should accept?" Julian turned toward her. "I think you have a special gift for helping people, and I don't think working with the Vesper Foundation takes away your independence. It only makes your impact bigger." "It's complicated," she sighed. "Working with them means seeing Preston again, facing Vesper Wainwright, turning my old pain into something new." "Turning pain into something that helps others," Julian said softly. Then he added with a grin, "Plus, you'd get unlimited coffee for your meetings." Elara laughed, her heart swelling with affection. That was what she loved most about Julian. He could make the darkest moments lighter, finding beauty even in hard places. "Do you know what scares me most?" she asked, curling close to him. "How everything feels right. You, me, this moment. Sometimes I'm scared it's just a dream." "Then let's dream together," Julian whispered, kissing her forehead. The rest of the day they talked about their hopes, fears, and plans. Julian showed her old photos from his time in Boston. Elara shared stories of her childhood in Providence. When night came, a heavy snowstorm blew outside. Julian got ready to leave. "Stay," Elara whispered suddenly, shocking even herself. "It's snowing hard." Julian answered with a gentle kiss, full of promise. That night, for the first time since her divorce, Alara allowed herself to be completely vulnerable. There was no rush, just gentle touches, soft laughter, whispered words. The next morning, Alara woke in Julian's arms. Sunlight sparkled on the snowy world outside, casting light and shadows like his photographs. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked, noticing her thoughtful look. "That life sometimes surprises us," Alara said, drawing shapes on his chest with her finger. "That sometimes we need to lose something to find something better." Julian smiled, the smile that always made her eyes shine. "Do you know what I love most about you? You turn every pain into wisdom." "And you?" she asked. "Why did you leave your office job to open this cafe?" "I wanted something real," Julian said. "I realized I was living the life others wanted for me, not the life I wanted." Alara nodded. "We're more alike than I thought." "Maybe that's why we met," Julian said, kissing her again. Outside, snow covered the city in white. Inside, their hearts kept dancing, showing that true love isn't born from fairy tales, but from real stories of healing. When spring came, flowers filled Providence, but so did new challenges. The Vesper Foundation's program grew faster than expected. Alara struggled to balance her teaching, her work at the centers, and her love with Julian. One April afternoon, Alara left a stressful meeting with Vesper Wainwright. At Aroma and Memories, she found Julian waiting, looking troubled. "We need to talk," he said, leading her to the back. Alara's heart raced. "I got an offer," Julian began nervously. "A national coffee chain wants to buy Aroma and Memories. They'd keep the idea and open in other cities." "That's amazing," Alara said carefully, knowing there was more. The headquarters would be in Seattle. Alara's world spun. Old memories rushed back, other choices, other sacrifices. "When do you need to decide?" she asked weakly. "By the end of the month," Julian said. "But Alara, I don't want to." "Don't," she cut him off, standing quickly. "Don't say you don't want to go. This is a huge chance for you. We could what? Try long distance? Or I leave everything and follow you? I've done that before, Julian. I gave up my dreams for a man once." Julian froze at her words. "I would never ask you to do that." "You wouldn't have to," Alara whispered, tears forming. "I know myself. I'd go anyway. That's what I do. I lose myself." "You're not the same person you were then," Julian said, stepping closer. "And I'm not Preston." Hearing her ex-husband's name was like ice water. Alara backed away, hugging her arms. "I have to go," she muttered, picking up her bag. "Alara, please." But she was already gone. The cafe door closed with a sad chime. When she reached home, rain poured down. Her sister Serafina was there and opened her arms as Alara collapsed, crying. "He's leaving," Alara sobbed, "like everyone always does." "Oh, Mandy," Serafina whispered, holding her. "Tell me everything." As the storm raged outside, Alara poured out her fears, her anger, her old patterns, her sadness. "But don't you see?" Serafina said softly. "You're not repeating old patterns. This time you're protecting yourself. But ask yourself, what exactly are you protecting yourself from? Love or the fear of love?" Alara wiped her tears, thinking hard. "What if I'm not strong enough?" she whispered. "Strong enough for what?" Serafina asked gently. "To love, to let go, to trust." "Mandy, you're the strongest person I know," Serafina said firmly. "But being strong doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you choose anyway." Alara's phone buzzed. A message from Julian. "I won't decide anything until we talk. You mean more to me than any business deal." "He's different, isn't he?" Alara said softly. "Yes, he is," Serafina agreed. "The question is, are you ready to believe it?" The next morning, birds sang outside. Alara had a big presentation in 2 hours, but her feet carried her to Aroma and Memories first. Julian was there, the smell of coffee wrapped around her as their eyes met. "I'm sorry," they both said at the same time, smiling nervously. "I'm scared," Alara admitted. "Afraid of losing myself again, afraid of making mistakes." "And I'm afraid of losing you," Julian said, stepping around the counter to face her. "That's why I'm not taking the offer." "No," Alara shook her head. "I don't want to be the reason you give up your dream." You're not the reason I'm giving up anything, Julian said softly, touching her face. You're the reason I want new dreams. What about Seattle? Alara asked. Seattle can wait, or we'll find a way to expand without leaving here. The important thing is, we do it together in our own time. Alara felt the walls inside her heart fall. I'm so afraid of trusting like this. I know, Julian said, holding her close. But trust doesn't mean losing yourself. It means choosing to share who you are becoming. Their kiss was different this time, deeper, stronger, filled with understanding. Outside, the sun shone after the storm, washing away fears. Providence looked new, full of hope. By summer, the city buzzed with life. Tourists, students, sunshine. For Alara, it also meant big changes that would shape her life forever. The first big change in Alara's life came on the day she defended her master's thesis. The big Brown University auditorium was full. Gabriel, Julian, Dr. Navarro, and even Mr. Vesper Wainwright sat in the very front row. Alara's topic was about how women recover after big, painful experiences. It was not only smart and strong, but it also told her own journey. She spoke about pain, healing, and hope. When she finished, Dr. Navarro stood up with a big smile. He said, "It is with great joy that we not only approve this work with special honor, but we also offer Miss Vesper a place in our doctoral program with a full scholarship." The whole room clapped loudly, but Alara only looked at Julian. He was smiling at her so proudly that Alara's heart felt like it would burst from happiness. The second big change came through the Vesper Foundation. The psychological support program grew bigger and opened in 5 community centers. Alara was chosen to be the executive director. "You have turned your pain into hope for other people," Mr. Vesper Wainwright said kindly at the opening of one new center. Preston was right about one thing: you are extraordinary. The name of her ex-husband, Preston, no longer hurt Alara. Instead of sadness, she only felt calm and peace. Preston and Blair had moved to Chicago months ago, and that part of Alara's life felt far away, like a book she had already finished reading. But the most important change happened at the coffee shop: aroma and memories. Julian had found a new idea. Instead of selling his cafe to a big chain, he made a partnership. This way he could keep the Providence Cafe free and special, but also open new ones in other cities. Seattle will be the first, Julian explained one evening while closing the cafe with Alara. But Providence will always be our home. Alara smiled when she heard the word our. Over the last few months, their lives had become one. Her clothes had moved into his apartment. Her books and research sat on his cafe shelves. They were building a life together. One hot July afternoon, Julian said, "I want to show you something." He brought her upstairs to the second floor of the building, the part always locked. When he opened the door, Alara gasped. It was a huge loft, fully fixed and beautiful. Tall windows showed the whole historic city. The brick walls felt warm and cozy. One corner was ready as an office, with empty shelves for books. "What do you think?" Julian asked nervously. "I thought we could make this our home. There's space for your work, my dark room, and maybe some more things in the future." Tears filled Alara's eyes. "I'm not asking for an answer now," Julian quickly added. "I just want you to know I'm committed to our future, whatever path we choose." Alara kissed him deeply, putting in that kiss all the love words she could not say. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "Was that a yes?" Julian whispered. "That was a let's build something extraordinary together," Alara replied. The next weeks were busy with moving, decorating, and adjusting. The loft became a warm home full of both their lives. Julian's photographs hung on the walls beside Alara's psychology books. The fancy kitchen opened to a cozy living area where they could study, cook, or take pictures. When it was ready, they held a special dinner. Serafina, Liana, Dr. Navarro, and friends filled the loft with laughter. "To the most beautiful transformation I have ever seen," Serafina said with a toast. That night, when all had left, Alara and Julian stood on the balcony. The city sparkled under the starry sky. Sometimes I wonder how we got here, Alara whispered. Julian kissed her neck. Like the best stories, one step at a time, with a few detours along the way. And with a lot of coffee, Alara added with a smile. And many cinnamon buns. Julian laughed. The bell of the cafe below rang softly in the evening breeze. For them, that sound now meant home. Do you know what I love most about you? Julian whispered. What? Alara asked. That you showed me how sometimes we must break down completely to rebuild stronger. Alara turned in his arms, her eyes glowing. And you showed me that true love isn't about losing yourself. It's about finding yourself together with someone. They kissed softly under the starlight. Above them, the stars were silent witnesses. Below them, the city continued its quiet night dance. A year later, Aroma and Memories celebrated its anniversary with a big art show. On the walls hung Julian's photo series called Metamorphoses. It showed the beauty of Providence through different seasons. The biggest photo was Alara, sitting at a cafe table on that rainy first day. Her hands held a warm cup of coffee. Her face looked both fragile and strong. I didn't know you had taken that picture, Alara said softly. It was the moment I fell in love with you, Julian whispered, hugging her, even though I didn't know it yet. The cafe was full, students, customers, Vesper Foundation workers, even Boston art critics. The support program was now in 7 centers, and the Seattle cafe was almost ready to open. Dr. Vesper, said Mr. Vesper Wainwright warmly, using her new title, the foundation would not be the same without you. Alara smiled. The credit goes to the people who trusted the program. Speaking of trust, he said more quietly, Preston called last week. He and Blair are separating. Alara felt no joy at this news, only gentle compassion. I hope he finds his way. He was always my brightest son, Mr. Vesper Wainwright said. But you taught us resilience. Before Alara could reply, Serafina ran into the cafe, pulling a young woman by the hand. Mandy, meet Tessa. She just joined our legal support program for women in need. The evening passed with laughter, stories, and love. Alara walked around the cafe remembering. There was the table where she and Julian had their first big talk, the counter where they had their first kiss, the corner where she studied while Julian tested coffee blends. Close to midnight, Julian called her to the loft balcony. The sky was clear, stars shining bright. I have something for you, he said, handing her a handmade photo album. Alara opened it. The first photo was of her, standing in the rain outside the cafe that very first day. The next pages showed her journey, studying, laughing with Serafina and Liana, working at the centers. The last page showed a new picture. Alara asleep on the loft sofa, a psychology book on her lap, golden evening light around her. Under it were words written by hand. Will you marry me? Alara looked up. Julian was kneeling, holding a sapphire ring. We don't have to rush, he said softly. We can just keep building life day by day, but I want the world to know I choose you today and always. Tears of joy filled Alara's eyes. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, yes! The ring slid onto her finger as if it had always been there. They kissed as the cafe bell rang below, blessing the moment. Later, curled together on the balcony, Alara whispered, sometimes we need to lose ourselves to truly find ourselves again. Every ending can be a new beginning. And this is ours, Julian smiled. No, Alara corrected, kissing him softly. This is just another chapter. We will keep writing our story together, page by page, coffee by coffee. Providence glowed in the moonlight, its old streets carrying countless love stories. In the air, the smell of coffee and cinnamon mixed with promises of shared futures and dreams come true. That night, Alara Vesper discovered that true love is not about finding someone who never hurts you. It is about finding someone who helps you bloom again, even after the hardest storms. Thank you so much for watching this story until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Your support means everything. See you next time.